AI is the biggest shift of our lifetime, and right now, real founders are having their aha moment and turning it into systems that print money. This is 120 Octane. Every week, we sit down with the operators on the front lines, the ones who took the lead, built the system, made it work, and they're sharing the lessons, the playbooks, and the tips that got them there. With your hosts, Avi Slavin and Alexandra Jacobo, your next aha moment starts now.
Welcome to 120 Octane, the podcast where founders, operators, and builders show us the AI systems they actually built. I'm Avi Slavin, and with me as always is my co-host, Alex Jacobo.
Hey everyone, excited to be here.
On this show, we don't do hype. We don't do theory. We talk to operators who've built AI systems that actually work and ask them to show us under the hood. Today's guests are perfect for that. We have Daniel Jacobs, spent 35 years as a dealer principal in automotive. He saw a problem nobody was solving, and instead of complaining about it, he built a system to fix it. And joining him is Kirsty Bishopp, his partner and the technical lead behind the build. Together, they founded AutoLot Impact, a company that's automating how car dealerships post their inventory to social media using AI. Danny, Kirsty, welcome to 120 Octane.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
We've been looking forward to this. Quick housekeeping for the audience. This is one of those rare episodes where we're going to actually see the system in action, so buckle up.
So Danny, let's start with you. 35 years as a dealer principal. Walk us through what AutoLot Impact does and what you're solving for.
Okay, AutoLot Impact really came out of a problem that we had, and it solved a plethora of issues that we didn't even know it was going to solve. But realistically, the 30-second version is we had the same problem that every dealer has. We sell cars. I had a salesperson who was outselling everybody 2-to-1 by pretty much posting vehicles on social media. Now, the game's changed. We're used to use third-party services, auto traders, and we still need those. But social media has changed the way car dealers sell cars. So she was putting every piece of inventory on our Facebook page, and she was literally outselling everybody 2-to-1. But she had an attendance problem. So one thing came to another. I can't give special treatment to everybody, so we had to let her go, which all of a sudden my leads started to diminish. My walk-in traffic started to diminish. We just started losing business. So Kirsty, who's been working with me doing all sorts of odds and ends around the dealership technical side, has said, hey, you know what? We can automate that for you. And I said, how are you going to do that? I don't even understand. So she says, well, check it out. Here we go. So boom, next thing I know, she creates this system where we grab my inventory. It knows that we have a new car come in. It sends it to AI. AI generates an engaging social media post using my branded graphics, and then actually automates that to post it onto our social media channels really quickly. That's pretty much what it does, but there's so much more to it. I can let her get into the details, but we solve so many problems. 1, visibility. 2, controlling a narrative. 3, hitting an algorithm so social media feeds it over and over again. So we gain traffic, we gain followers, we gained leads. People just started seeing us that didn't know we were there.
So what I'm hearing from you is that you had this breaking point, right? Because somebody needed to fix this. Kirsty came up with a solution to automate everything. But were you trying to solve this with hires or some kind of process before AI? What didn't work on your end?
Well, you constantly try to figure out how you're going to sell more cars. I was a rural car dealer, a little guy, trying to compete against every other Chevy dealer. But I was 20 miles off a highway through 3 Mayberries to get to me. I mean, if you didn't know I was there wasn't a reason for coming to me, you're not coming to me. I have the same Chevy Silverado that every other dealer has. What's my why buy here? There's no way you're coming to me when you got to pass 12 other stores that are bigger, better. I also can't compete with their advertising budgets. Like, these big companies spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars monthly on TV, radio, internet, anything that they can do to get their name out there. So how do I turn around a mismanaged, misoperated store and be able to sell cars to make money?
That's interesting. And let me ask you another follow-up question to that. Why did you or Kirsty decide that AI was the answer here and not just better software or some kind of an in-house marketer?
So we've tried in-house marketers. Doesn't always necessarily work, and it's the same old game. You're going to send out a mailer. You're going to send out a discount. You're going to do some program at your store where I'm going to get a whole bunch of people in and we're going to take advantage of people and gifts and this and all sorts of stuff. But internet's changing the world. If AI is coming into every aspect of every business, and if you're not doing it, you're left behind. We've tried salespeople, hiring, firing. We've tried even an influencer person, but then they think they own you. They go and it's their customer, it's their brand. You can't control the narrative of what's being said. So let's say I could get a cease and desist letter from Chevrolet because they said some stuff that they don't like, right? I'm still under their wing. I got to follow procedure being a factory store. Now, if I'm an independent, you could pretty much say what you want. But you've got all these other issues that come in play. So AI did something that we couldn't really bring into the fold, but it also got us to in-market shoppers. It also scoured what people are looking for. It also generated an engaging social media post, which is one of the keys that Kirsty will show to you.
Kirsty, can I bring you in here? When Danny came to you with this problem,
Sure.
what was your first reaction? Did you immediately see how to build it, or did you have to kind of wrestle with it a bit?
Well, when it first came to me with it, I'd already been doing some marketing on their Facebook page and doing this manually for a few months. And to be honest, as I was doing the marketing manually, I was like, I'm a programmer. I do digital marketing and also programming. I've been doing it for the last 23 years. And I was like, there must be a better way to do this. It's taken up so much time creating the ads, posting the ads. And I'd already had it in my head that this could be automated. And then when Danny approached me to say that, how can we actually get our inventory onto the Facebook page, I was like, well, wait a minute, we've got access to the dealership's inventory feed, so we can get that every day. And as long as we've got that data source to begin with, and that's something we can build triggers and actually start automating processes. Now, what you asked earlier, why use AI? And this kind of thing could probably be done with just templates, but then you don't have the variety of posts. You don't have the engaging part of the posts. And we're using AI essentially to it pulls all the information for a particular vehicle, but then it's the AI that decides what are the features of that particular vehicle are going to resonate most with the ideal audience for that vehicle. For example, say it's a Ferrari, it's going to be, talking about tearing up the road. It's going to, have that engaging conversation with the audience. It's going to be talking, about the sound of the engine, it's got, the horsepower and all these kind of features. Whereas if it's an SUV, the ideal audience for that's going to be someone that maybe even needs like fuel economy on a school run. A truck's going to be, the audience for that's going to be someone who's maybe wanting to use it for work during the week and adventures on the weekend. So it's all about using AI to build that engaging content around what could really be otherwise quite a sort of static post, so it gives it that sort of variety and engagement with the audience. So that's why we pulled the AI into the process. Everything else around that at the moment is just automation. So rather than going an AI first approach, it was an automations first approach, then go, well, how can we pull AI into this to actually just make it better?
Okay, great. Was there ever a moment early on where you thought you were going to have to scrap it and start over, like with the process, or up to you more?
Not really. But there was a moment where it was almost like information overload. Like you look on like YouTube and things, AI is everywhere, and it seems like every single day, when I was doing my research to go, well, what's the best solution to use here? And I was doing all my research, and it was just like every single day, multiple, people are going, oh, this is the next biggest, best thing. Oh, it can do this now. Oh, it can do this now. And there's like maybe like 5-10 different AI providers, like language models that were all competing, saying that they were the best. And it was like, well, how do you actually pinpoint where to start with that? So, I mean, me myself, I was researching all and going, well, actually, I have to just take a breath and stop. So I had to take a step back and go, actually, what do we really need it for? And then just sort of hone in, pick a sample, and just started testing and going, well, if I give it these instructions, which ones are the most responsive? Which ones, cancel out anything that's hallucinating, cancel out anything that's not paying attention to the instructions, and then just try and drill it down to like, the one solution that would actually make the difference. But yeah, a lot of that was just turning off the noise. I had to turn off the noise of all of the sort of the content that I was getting bombarded with about AI. I had to go, right, stop. Let's just look at what's in front of me and go, how can I integrate, which solution's best for us?
And when you found it, though, just to throw this point in there, when Kirsty did find it, I'm glad which AI she picked for us to utilize, because it became an issue what we were using when we started to grow. And when we got Lithia, who's one of the largest retailers and has the most stores in the United States when it comes to franchise and dealerships, they were very concerned when we had to get their legal department through what we were doing to be able to be an authorized vendor for them. They wanted to control the narrative. They wanted to make sure, what AI are you using? Because I don't want false information, and they're corporate and it's public. And when you put things out there, again, like I was saying earlier, you can have a lot of legal problems between your factory or what you say, and you can't control your staff. There's people out there that have these listing services that run through Messenger. Well, the dealership can't control it. It's not going through their CRM, or it's not going through their website. They can't really control what's being said.
Interesting. Yeah, we could actually touch base on that later. The AI hallucinations, as I'm sure you're referring to, this is something interesting. And when you're putting something out there, the information has to be absolutely factual. So let's touch base on that later. But what we're here for today is Kirsty walking us through what you built. And if you're up for it, let's see it in action. So if you don't mind, share your screen, please, and show us what happens from inventory all the way to a post going live.
And for everyone listening, Kirsty's sharing her screen, and we're currently looking at the AutoLot Impact website.
Okay, so what I'm currently showing, this is the dashboard. So when you first log in as a dealership, it shows you 3 columns. In the first column, it shows how your inventory is synchronizing every day, tells you when you've last synchronized, how many active vehicles you have in stock, and just a sort of short summary of the new arrivals that we've identified in the last 7 days and the vehicles that have been sold in the last 7 days. It also gives a summary of which vehicles are ready for social media. Now, one of the things that we check on is we make sure that each vehicle has 3 things. It has to have photos, it has to have a link through to the vehicle details page on the dealership's website so we know where we're sending traffic to, and it needs to have a price. Once it has those 3 things, then it's ready for social media and we know that we can actually generate a post about it. The middle column just shows the connection to the dealership's Facebook page, when that was last synchronized, and just some basic information, some basic like analytics about their page. And then the most important column on the right shows the schedule. Now this shows the posts that have been generated, and it shows the next 5 posts that are scheduled to go out. So if I actually go into this, I'm going to have to log back in again. Oh no, here we go. Here, as the system automatically generates posts, it just populates that post into the next available schedule slot. Here's one here. This all happens completely like set it and forget it. The dealership doesn't even have to log in and do anything. It just all happens in the background. However, if they do want to sort of swap about which vehicles go out on which days, they can just remove it and drag and drop into whichever slot they want. So they do have a sort of as much granularity as they want about how, when vehicles are actually posted. And if I look here, this gives you a summary as well of what's been generated.
Sorry, just for the listener, so that way they can understand what's happening. So Kirsty ended up clicking on one of the calendar events that they had here, and now we're reviewing the post preview of what the post actually looks like with the image and the description.
it shows here that this is the actual text that was generated by the AI. So AI has taken all the vehicle details for that particular vehicle, that particular VIN number. Now, the majority of the information we actually pull from the dealership's inventory feed, and then we supplement. AI is actually searching the internet and supplementing that information for information that it finds online about, what are the best credentials about that vehicle. And then, so it also creates a link through to the vehicle details page of the dealer's website, because that's where we're driving traffic to. That's the purpose of this. And it also pulls out a number of features which are then used to populate a template for an image that shows an image of the vehicle. It shows like between 4 and 6 different features: the price, the mileage, the fact it's a new arrival, these kind of things. Now, each of these templates we actually do custom for the dealership itself. It shows their branding. But the AI's purpose here is it fills in the blanks. It fills in what are the key features. It fills in what is the post text. And that's the key part in this process where the AI is actually involved. So once the time comes out, and on my screen at the moment it shows that the next one for this dealership is to go out tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. And once that time comes, this post will automatically be posted to their Facebook page. And at that point, we start collecting analytics. So I'm going to move now to show the post analytics for this dealership.
Before we jump into that, can you tell us
Sure.
where do you get the inventory data from?
Sure. I've actually go to the inventory feed source here. Okay. Normally dealerships, they have all their, if they've got a website, for example, their website's normally populated with an inventory feed. So that's either like a CSV file, comes from their dealership management software. It can come from their actual website provider. We're connected with, I think, around 10 or 12 different providers now, where we pull the feed from. So either they send us a feed, they send us a CSV file each morning of updated inventory, or we go and we pull that information from an API or an XML, URL, a file that we can get online. And then here we can see for this dealership that we're syncing each day, and we see that we identified there was 3 new arrivals into inventory, 7 changed their details, and 1 was sold. And that happened this morning. And that process took 6 seconds.
Wow.
So this screen here that I'm showing just now just shows almost like just a log of all the inventory synchronizations. So we can see over the last 10, it gives an update on those.
Okay, great.
So what happens is we have for this particular dealership, if I go to settings, so I'm now viewing a settings page when it loads. Okay, so we have an automation. Now this automation here that was shown on the screen basically says it's looking for new arrivals into inventory. So the system will check each day when it gets that inventory feed. It'll check through it and go, is any of this new? And do we have photos? Do we have the price? And do we have the link? And if it does, if all those conditions are met, it knows to automatically generate a post for that vehicle and add it to the queue. On this screen as well, you'll see that there's actually a calendar management system. Normally, we recommend the dealership start with 1 post per day, just to get that consistency. It's something they don't have to worry about, that they will always have 1 post per day going onto their Facebook page. And building that consistency appears to be what Facebook likes. It likes to see the consistent posts, it likes to see consistent engagement, and then that way Facebook can also knows what kind of audience to show that post to that maybe not even following the Facebook page. I can show you that in a moment. But here we can add new time slots. So if just another time slot for 9 a.m. on Sunday, add time slot, and we can show that now appears here under the Sunday slot. Okay,
Is this part what is required by human, or is this also that AI generates for you? And then you also mentioned a little bit ago that if it's missing information, it won't post. What happens then? It does same thing. Does the human have to go in and do that, or does AI know the information that it's requesting or needing?
Okay. This part here is literally just a setup. So when we onboard a client, I help them or either do it for them, or I advise them how to set up their calendar, and I'll set up the automation for them. This is what's basically the trigger. So it triggers when to call on AI to generate a post. Now, if we don't have those three things, if we don't have the URL, if we don't have the price, and if we don't have the images, then we know to wait. So basically, we just wait until each of those criteria are met, at which point then it goes to AI to generate the post. That way, it means that vehicles that don't have images yet, it just waits. It just waits until those things. The dealership would be adding those things anyway, as far as into their dealer management system or onto their existing website. So sometimes it takes a few days for them to go and wash the car and present it and take their photos and do their pricing. But Danny could probably tell you more about the processes in the dealership.
Right.
We just know the system just knows to wait until those criteria are met. And then at that point, it's like, okay, thumbs are up. We know that we've got enough information now to send it to AI to generate the post. Because we don't want to send something that's not got all the information required.
As a dealer, it becomes a problem to list or show or present on your website vehicles or even social media that don't have a photo. If you're sitting there and you get a feed and it's got some fake image, you're not going to look at that car. You're not going to click into it. Oh, I don't really know what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a normal thing. A dealer does not want to show a car because it's not ready to be shown, right? If you don't have all the information. And then having a price, okay, our system knows that we don't want anybody to be able to mess with a price. It has to be compliant. It has to be compliant with the dealer. It's just you want a complete, ready to go post. You don't put these cars on your website when they do, and it has a static image or like a fake stick figure or one of those Evox images where it just doesn't look real. You're never really clicking into that car because you can't see the car. I mean, as a consumer, that's what they teach us as a dealer.
Is the AI being used to generate images at all, or is it pulling from actual photos taken?
Actual photos.
It's pulling from actual photos taken. If I go on to, I'll show you the post analytics. It makes more sense. Okay, so here we've got a list of, these are all the posts that have actually been published for this dealership. So if I just go into this one here. So this one was posted yesterday. Okay, again, here it shows what this content here was generated by AI. And if I open up this bigger, you'll see in these parts, so the content, the post text was generated by AI. And also I'm now showing the actual image, the graphic that was generated. And in the graphic for this particular template, we have 4 features that were pulled out of identified by AI as being engaging features, things that people would want to know specifically about this vehicle. And those are populated in the template as well, along with other data that's pulled from the feed.
Incredible.
But we do have some more plans in the future, but we can maybe talk about that later because I've got lots and lots of ideas.
Right.
Yeah. How long did it take you to build this, like from idea to working vision?
Let me think. Okay, I started development last year. I think it was April of last year.
Yeah, something
and
like that.
we officially launched in September.
September. I was the guinea pig.
Yeah,
right?
early September.
And then,
yeah.
And we talked about it in 24. We started with the ideas and we were trying to figure out what to do and how to make it work. And then she came along and said, okay, here's the deal. Let's do it. And then we gave it to a few friends, basically to test it. And now here we are with some of the largest dealer groups in the country and a guy in South Africa. And we're starting to scale it. So we're trying to figure out how to get it out there to people. So it's just a great help that basically we're a lead machine that grows your dealership's digital assets for pennies on a dollar.
So I mentioned before that once the post is published, the next stage is we actually collect analytics about that post to see how it's performed. For this particular post, this was posted yesterday morning. And at that time, we've had 4 clicks through to that particular vehicle on the dealership's website. It's been viewed 89 times, but actually 25 of those were from people that were not following their Facebook page. So those were people that potentially didn't even know that they existed.
Right.
Got it. I have a question, just
Sure.
a follow-up to that. I see Facebook everywhere. Are you doing other types of platforms? Part of Meta is Instagram, and then
Yep.
there's TikTok, and then there's Google. Are
Yep.
you agnostic to platforms, or you're just starting with Facebook?
We started with Facebook, and really it was a case of we had to launch with something. And with any development project, it's really easy just to keep adding features and adding features and adding features and never actually launching the thing because you keep coming up with more ideas and more ideas. We thought, well, like, we need to draw a line somewhere and launch with something that actually provides value. But then at that point, we can get the feedback from the dealerships that are using it and decide, well, what's most important to them? What do we prioritize next? So I do have Instagram posting in the works at the moment. So that's the sort of final stages of testing right now. And on top of that, I'm working with sort of doing some sort of research stuff with AI to see how we can actually maybe generate video based on the vehicle photos and the information that we've got for the vehicles. Like, for example, there's some interesting AI tools that I could connect into that would allow us to, so we get like 40 images for a vehicle, and some of them are very similar, so we want to be able to maybe pull out, say, 10 images that are very different for that particular vehicle, and we can maybe then look at generating some sort of slideshow or video or something based on those, but we don't want them all just to be slightly different angles of the front. So in that respect, we need AI to actually look at all the images, and for AI to pull out, well, what are the actual, find us the image that's a 3/4 shot front, find us an interior image, find us an image of the trunk, find us an image of the hubcaps, or all these kind of things. Just to get that variety. So, I mean, there's certainly a lot more opportunity for us to implement AI in many different parts of this system. Also looking at maybe implementing AI as well to review the analytics that we're getting and to maybe identify, is there a particular time of day for this particular dealership? Is there a particular time of day or particular day of the week where they get more engagement than other days? How can we get AI to maybe give us suggestions back to how we can improve the engagement, how we can improve the views that it's getting. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of ideas. But yeah, we just had to launch with something. We had to just,
Of course.
draw a line, go, right, let's launch with this, get some feedback, and then we'll take it from there.
Follow-up question to that. So are these the Facebook ad manager accounts of the individual dealers that they're plugging into, or is this your Facebook ad manager and you're just having kind of like an agency account with multiple downstream accounts under that? How does that work?
We're actually not on it's not like an agency manager situation. Actually, we don't need to have admin access or anything to their Facebook account at all. It's all done through, what I've done is I created an app for Facebook, and that allows us to essentially get permission from a dealership to post on their behalf, to be able to read certain things about their Facebook page, to be able to read posts, to be able to comment, to be able to edit posts, delete posts. So we've got a certain list of permissions that we're granted, but it's literally there's a button on the homepage here. So back on the home screen of the system. And when the Facebook page isn't connected, there's a big button that says connect your Facebook page, and it literally redirects you to Facebook, where they click a few buttons, sign in, and go, we grant access to Autolot Impact, and then it's all connected. It's literally just a few clicks.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was a big deal. We can't have admin we can't post on somebody else's behalf. You can't do it on a business page or anything like that. So
Sure.
So to get that verification from Meta was a big deal for us.
Yeah, a lot of hoops to jump through for
No,
him
of course.
to...
I come
to
from the
give us
ad
a
tech
thumbs up.
space. I'm very familiar with advertising across
it was
Facebook. I could imagine that was a bit of a challenge.
It was,
Yeah,
and again,
it's 2 weeks.
the corporate people don't want us to have. Well, one, we don't want to have any admin access because it makes me liable.
Sure.
Two, a corporation like any of these dealer groups, they don't want to give me any access because, God forbid, you give a salesperson access to your stuff. You can't control what they do. There's
For
just
sure.
they don't want to give it. The last thing we had no contracts, no access, like all the things that being a dealer principal. I was like, listen, we can't have a contract with these people 30 days and out. If they're not happy, we don't want them to not be happy. I mean, we're doing them a service,
Yep.
and you can't lock these people into 6, 8 months, a year contract for things. It's just, they don't want it.
Yeah.
Same thing here. You couldn't have access. We don't want your access. We're not going to publish anything that you don't already have out there in the public. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I mean, we've certainly had to. I mean, we've had to have a few conversations as well with them, especially the larger dealership groups. I mean, Danny mentioned the Lithia Group. I mean, I had to, do a demo with them, with their legal department, and answer a lot of questions, especially around AI, because, I think a lot of the legal teams are very quite, some are very nervous around it and think, they are worried about hallucination. They're worried about how accurate the information that's getting posted, and are they going to be held liable for maybe posting something about a vehicle that's not true?
So let's come back to the hallucinations,
Sure.
because I promised our listeners that we would get there. How do you solve for that, right? Because AI is very accurate, but in some cases, anyone that has experimented with AI, regardless of the model, they've probably seen a result that came back like, that's probably not 100% correct. I'm actually the subject matter expert and this is wrong. How do you go around that? How is your solutions coming into play to account for that?
Really, it came down to just a lot of testing. I started off, I think it was about 5 different models I was looking at. I had to look at also, the actual integration side of things. What's their API like? How much information can we give them? Is the AI actually going to listen to the instructions, or is it going to make up its own mind what to do? That kind of things. And also, I mean, we found as well, the more information that we can give the AI, was chat, the more information we can give about a vehicle that's coming directly from the feed, the less it seems to be inclined to hallucinate. So that's where we're not asking for it to generate an image for it. We're always providing the price, the URL for where the actual, the page for the vehicle on the internet. And it really was just a case of testing, looking to see what it came back with, comparing it to what's the actual accurate information, and getting to that point that really I wasn't seeing any hallucination at all with the one that we went with, which was Anthropic.
Amazing.
Anthropic. Okay.
Yeah. Found ChatGPT, went off on a tangent a few times. So that one wasn't so. That was one that was like, no. I mean, we've sort of maybe been tempted. Danny had mentioned as well. Maybe we should look at some other ones because there's new ones out now. Maybe we should have a look at Grok. Or, do you know what? I'm quite impressed with Anthropic at the moment. As we sort of progress and we're looking into new ways to integrate AI, there might well be that Anthropic isn't the right choice for those particular needs. Like if we're looking at sort of video generation, I know there's AI tools and systems that are very specific to that. I found with Anthropic, it was the most natural voice. It didn't hallucinate. And it really just was a case of just test until we came to found a winner. And then
Amazing.
on top of that, it has been a case of, there's been some dealerships that, they've wanted to actually hone that descriptive, the actual text in the post, and they've wanted to make that a lot more specific to them. So even very recently, we had a dealer who had very specific certified pre-owned programs, and had different warranties available depending on how new the car was or its mileage,
Years,
and things
mileage,
all these
sorts of
criteria.
variables.
And they wanted those CPO programs to be included in the text of the post. So then for that, I had to go back and almost train the AI again in how to recognise which vehicle belonged to which program, how to describe it, whether to put that as a feature in the actual template, and then give it so we've got these base set of instructions, but then we've got another layer on top of that is dealer specific. So it can even say things like tone of voice, like we've got, like I said, there's rural dealerships, but you get very sort of corporate dealerships, and they want a very corporate tone of voice. And you've got another one that might want a very casual, friendly tone of voice in how they're writing. And we can do that as well.
I see. So every
yeah.
dealer is potentially customizable
Completely.
with a set of instructions.
But starting
with the
from
tone,
that core.
right, exactly.
Right. Custom templates, custom voice, custom everything for them. And then AI pulls the most important accolades of the particular vehicle that we're looking at to create, and then it posts automatically with the automation.
And it considers the audience as well for that particular vehicle. I mean, you're not going to sell a Ferrari to someone needs to have space in the back for triplets.
That's true. He may want one. She may
Yeah,
want
they
one,
want
but
one.
it's not a reality. Right.
Just to get
Well, if it
groceries
becomes-
with, right?
That's
Exactly.
funny. Interesting. Kirsty, please continue the demo. Sorry. We got off on a tangent, but I think these are
Sure,
some
no
really
worries.
important questions to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the key part I was back here, post analytics. Okay, so this screen here is actually showing, this is overall, this is from the start of when this particular dealership started posting with us. So I'm just going to move this around. So we can see here that we've generated 245 posts, published 245 posts for this particular dealership since October, I think they joined us. In that time, we've created 95,000 views of those particular posts, of which for this dealership, over 50% of those views came from people that were not already following his Facebook page. So this is actually getting reach beyond their existing audience, which is key. We also had some really nice anecdotal information from them as well. They mentioned after the first few months that they'd noticed a pickup in foot traffic, because people were coming to the dealership who'd never heard, didn't even realise they existed, and were just walking in off the street and said they'd seen them on Facebook. We're also sending a bunch of clicks through to their website, to the actual vehicle details page of the website, not to the homepage. And for this dealership, we've sent 2,097 visitors to their website.
To the actual vehicle page,
to
not
the
just to the website.
Wow.
Yeah, and we can also see here on this analytics page that 99.6 of the views that they received on these posts were organic. So it didn't really cost them anything in additional ad spend at all. I know that I think he did try boosting a couple of posts right at the very start, but then realised he didn't actually have to do that, which is why we're not 100% organic traffic, almost. So, I mean, this is the sort of overall summary that I'm showing on the screen now, just from day dot, from the very first day. And then we're drilling down into the individual vehicles. So on the screen now, we've got a table that shows what the post was, what the vehicle was, when it was posted, and the engagement, if it was liked, if it was shared, how many click-throughs to the website, how many views of that particular vehicle. Now, another thing, I mean, Danny had mentioned it actually managed to solve problems that the dealership didn't even expect. And one of those was that it actually shows which types of vehicles the dealership should be buying.
It's like a buying tool.
For example, on my screen now, there's one here from 3 days ago. There's a post from 3 days ago, which is a 2023 Chevy Silverado 3,500
35,
truck.
a one-ton pickup truck.
Yeah,
Sold probably
Danny
quick.
knows more
Got
about
a
the cars.
got a million click-throughs that they need to go buy 10 more of those.
Yeah, so that was posted 3
Basically.
days ago, and it's showing it got 367 views, 7 people clicked through to the website. It was shared twice and it has 4 hearts. It's like 4 likes. That's had a lot more engagement than, other vehicles, in comparison to other vehicles that have been posted in around about the same time frame. So it gives that sort of extra information just to go, well, what are their audience engaging with? What kind of vehicles are they interested in buying?
Scroll up real quick to the
Sure.
top of that page where you had the analytics. All right, the very top button on the square on the left, where it says 240. I have my glasses.
So yeah,
246,
240.
right.
Yeah, we've posted 245 times, like actual posts published.
And the number behind it says 70.
yeah,
what?
76. 76 published,
Right,
and that's the number
What's
of
left?
posts that are still active. because
Hold on, just
vehicles
very
haven't
quick
been sold.
clarifying question. When you say posts, are these sponsored posts or are these organic posts on the
Organic.
page?
Organic.
Completely
It's all
organic.
organic.
I'll
Everything
show
we
you
do is
one.
organic.
Okay.
Okay.
But that number right there is what I'm talking about. If I was a third party, an auto trader, a cars.com, a cars guru, I would claim that I sold the difference between 240 clicks and 70 cars left. Because that's what
Yep.
they do to me. That's what every one of those third party services did to me. They say, those are my sales. I can tell you because of the IP addresses, but I'm not allowed to actually give you the names.
Got it.
That's how they sell me every month.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm showing now is I'm showing that actual post on the dealer's website, dealer's Facebook page.
Interesting.
so-
And if somebody wants to transform this organic post into something paid for, is that something that they do on their end? Is
They
there
can just do it through Facebook. They just boost it.
Just
they
boost
just boost
it.
it, right? Because I
Yeah.
imagine that the analytics and the data that you're gathering on these posts on the specific vehicles, it's some pretty interesting insights, right? That could translate into some actionable next steps for them.
It's great
Sure.
data. She'll show you.
Yeah, I mean, what? Let's log back in. Okay. What we've suggested as well. I mean, this particular dealership. I mean, they're great. They've really got sort of engagement with their staff as well. That they know to go on and share.
Share the
they can
post,
get their
'cause it's free.
salesmen to go on and just share it to their own audience.
So they'll
It
show it to
doesn't
their
cost anything.
1,800 people or their 2,500 followers. And then it'll go organically to all them. Plus, it starts feeding it to all their non-follower people because, again, it's an engaging post. It's
Yeah,
really
this one in
pretty cool.
particular, showing organic views. So 100% of the 367 views this post, which was posted a couple of days ago. So 367 views, 100% of those were organic, didn't cost a single cent more in ad spend. And we can also see here, actually, this one in particular, 255 of those views were from people that were not already following their Facebook page.
Incredible.
So, we're getting some good results. Yeah, the other thing the system does as well is it recognizes when something's sold. So if a vehicle no longer appears in the feed, it assumes it's been sold. And then what it does is actually it puts it'll put a comment under
To
the
thank you
original
now.
post on the Facebook page to say, hey, this vehicle's now been sold. Please check out our inventory, our website, or whatever for our other inventory of our other great deals, however it wants to be worded. So that gets put on here as soon as it's sold, which also then puts that particular post back up in front of the people that have interacted with it.
Fascinating.
Okay.
And then
Very
maybe 7
interesting.
days later, however many days later, we delete the post because it's no longer relevant. And we don't want to be cluttering up the dealership's Facebook page with a whole bunch of vehicles that no longer are available because that's just going to annoy everybody.
Right.
So yeah, so I mean that's what it's doing as well. So that's where when Danny mentioned on post analytics area.
Sorry, just going back really quick. When you say that you delete the post, do you manually delete it or is that part of the automation?
Automated.
Part of the
As well.
automation.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great.
But I mean, also the dealership can choose not to do that. I mean, we've got all the kinds of settings. They can choose just to delete the post straight away. They can choose to put a comment and not delete it. They can choose to put a comment and delete it. But it all happens completely in the background. I mean, we've got some dealerships on here that they logged in initially to set up their Facebook page and, do the
never
settings
looked
with
at
me. And then they haven't looked at it again because everything's happening behind the scenes and they're seeing the post go onto their Facebook page. And they don't actually have to touch it. So the amount of time that it saves is just ridiculous.
And some people want to do things manually, or they took in an exotic car on Friday and they want to make sure it goes out Saturday morning so everybody sees it. They took in an 87 911, something weird, right?
Yeah.
And then boom, we want to post it when I know everybody's going to be sitting there reading and checking it out. We also put in other triggers, which were things that dealers wanted to. People are on a turn, a 60-day turn, because you're paying daily on the inventory. So Kirsty will tell you that it'll generate another post that you can set for 30, 45, 60 days to bring that thing back up or generate it again. We also put in another price trigger. So if a dealer changes his price, because they constantly do that, it'll generate another post that says, oh, this price car was reduced from $29,900 to $27,452, or whatever the
Wow.
case may be. So
Okay.
the system every day looks at what you have, recognizes what's going on, and generates what's necessary to, one, make it engaging, two, be informative, three, dealership branding, control the narrative, and hit these algorithms so that you're gaining non-followers, click-throughs, sales. I mean, and then we're going to start taking it to other industries too, which we can't wait for.
Oh, that's
Everybody
incredible.
could use it.
I suppose really the key problem that it solves is time as well,
Time
because
and
I know that in a
consistency.
lot of dealerships they try and get their sales team to post. You have to post on social media, start posting in social media because they know it works. But it's also taking that sales staff, they're not consistent. If they're sitting creating posts, they're not actually going and closing sales with the customers. They're not social media managers, so they shouldn't be sitting posting to Facebook. They should be going and selling cars because that's what their jobs are. I mean, if they wanted to go and share a post that already exists, it's like a 2-second thing to do, but it's not
Yeah.
actually sitting to having to create it. And then you make it one salesperson who's really great at writing descriptions, but you have another one that maybe isn't. And
Right.
then you've got that inconsistency there of the voice of the dealership. Yeah, so there's lots of things that that it's like Danny mentioned at the start that it solves, which we're really
And
pleased
it's
with.
trackable too. So in that URL that sends it to you, so it's trackable into so they could put it in their CRM. They can follow up whatever their sales process might be. That lead came from us.
Amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, Kirsty, thank you so much for walking us through this demo. That's
You're
been
very welcome.
outstanding and very eye-opening.
Thank you.
Back to Danny for a second. When Kirsty showed you this working for the first time, what was your reaction? Did it match what you imagined? Was it,
I didn't understand it. To be completely honest with you, she's techie and it didn't make any sense until it started to work. And then I'm
Right.
like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. How's that doing that? And then, hey, can you do this? Oh, can you make it do that? And then all my friends are like, oh, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? And it just keeps evolving where you need to, okay, let's slow down. Let's get this what she calls an MVP, a minimal viable product.
right.
Let's get some people using it. Let's work through our bugs and problems, which, man, there's been a few. I mean,
Of course.
we've had, it's like you said, the Facebook situation where we're posting on people's behalf. That was a
Yeah.
problem. Getting past lawyers and legal things, those were problems. But really, we worked through everything, and she's amazing. And I was just the guinea pig with the store and a vision. She's the one who built it.
That's true. But there eventually came a point where you had to take this to your first dealer. So
Exactly.
Yes.
walk me through that moment. What did they say?
Well, my
Curious
first
about
dealer,
that
she's
story.
using as a demo right now, except for me. So I was
Okay.
the guinea pig and we used me. And it was a little rough at first, and we didn't have enough cars coming in, and I'm a little tiny rural Chevrolet store. So it was a little not consistent, and we weren't firing on all cylinders. And then I was like, hey, Dom, I got a buddy who had a little used car lot. And I said, hey, would you try this stuff that she built? I'm telling you, I swear it's going to be the most amazing thing. He goes, yeah, sure, no problem. So next thing I know, he hooks up and they start selling it, and they started gaining, 50, 60, 70 followers a month.
Yeah,
They started
average.
getting like posts over and over again.
Wow.
They started having people walking. He goes, oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world. And then he told his buddy at another Chevy store, and we didn't even have to do a demo. He's like, well, Dom said it was unbelievable. I'll try it. So we signed him up, and I didn't even have to show him what it does. And then really I built it for little guys so we
Right.
could compete
Okay.
on a small scale without blowing through an advertising budget, just to get some traffic. If it could sell 2 cars a month, 1 car a month, if I could gain one more service customer, anything, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Because the cost factor was next to nothing. I spend $700 a car to advertise to sell a new or used car. So for the few $100s a month, basically, at the time when we set this thing up to post 40, 50 cars on my website, because again, I was a small dealer, it took off. And then some of my bigger dealers were like, what are you guys doing? Well, actually, here's the kicker. Edmunds called Edmunds called my general manager, who was our third partner, Aaron, and said, hey, what are you guys doing? You're killing your market like tenfold on social media. We haven't seen anything like it. And I played dumb. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Good for you.
Because again, I didn't know where it was. I don't know what was going on. And that's when we knew we had something. When Edmunds, who's huge in the automotive field,
Yep.
calls me up and says, hey, what are you guys doing? So that's when it really kind of clicked. And then Lithia called. One of my buddies works as a buyer for them. So we put it in their Reno store. And then another store called in Tennessee. So then we had both sides of the company. And then we got this guy in South Africa who was like Cherry Motors. He was a manufacturer. Out of nowhere, he saw me on LinkedIn and it's like, hey, anything that happens on social media in U.S. comes here 10 years later. So I want in now. So he was like our second or third customer that we hired. I mean, I couldn't believe that. That was just out of nowhere. And
That's
now
incredible.
I think we're pushing 15, 17 states, another country, and
Yeah.
hopefully
Okay.
the growth
Wow.
keeps coming. So,
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, it's good to help other dealers, and we found something that I didn't know what it was going to be, and now it's working. And it's really kind of neat to see it transform, to see it grow, and to know that we're doing a service for them. Because
course.
that's the hardest thing, especially in my business. Carb dealers are dinosaurs, and we're hard to deal with, and we're hard-headed. And she made this so I could use it. I can barely turn my computer on. And she showed you where you could click a picture and move it into where the slot that I need. That's how I need to be able to work it. I got to touch it and move it. If I got to do anything more than that, it's not going to work. And
If
most
it's-
dealers are like that.
If it's
course.
Danny proof, then it's a winner.
Yep.
I like that.
So,
Well, look, most amazing businesses start with solving problems that, are an internal bottleneck.
right.
You solved that problem for yourself. You
Yep.
realized how difficult it was because you just couldn't compete. You built something for yourself. You saw it work. Like, this is interesting to start implementing for other dealerships. And,
Yep.
that's amazing. So totally, I can see that scale happening. Do you have any intel? I know you just launched this, right, within the year, but do you have any intel on the delta? So like after having them implemented your system and the cost comparison, right? Do you have any intel on that so far? And then that's on the money side. And then I'm also curious, as a second follow-up to that question, if you know how many or how much time per week does this save dealership, employee time?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, it's
Danny done
interesting.
some calculations, didn't you, Danny? Because
Yeah.
Even-
And if you don't mind me reading this a little bit, sort of.
No, please go ahead.
The manual multiple, human input, you spend 100% of the time requires 5 to 7 minutes per post. Auto lot impact, one trigger, zero. Your input is 0. You cannot mathematically calculate the speed multiple for a task that requires 0 seconds of your time. In terms of labor efficiency, it's the ultimate ceiling. That's what Google told me. And then the efficiency in a multiple, the labor savings, eliminating 10 hours of manual posting per week at $20 an hour saves $800 a month in staff wages alone. So this system will pay for itself twice over before you even count a single sale. And the lead quality, VDP leads are warmer than marketplace messages since these users have viewed the full spec and photo of your site. They are often ready to talk numbers immediately. And the cost per lead click through is basically a high performing scenario would be roughly 15 VDP views per car per month at 15% conversion rate, generates 450 leads at 89 cents.
Wow,
Okay.
that is incredible.
And most people are spending $100 and something per lead.
Interesting. Do you have a story from a specific dealer where, this changed entirely how they operate? Is there something you want to share?
About operating, I mean, Dom's story with his testimonial and his would be the best thing. And Kirsty, I mean, you have more of the data, so you might want to.
Yeah, I mean,
Tell
really,
you
I
what
mean,
he
it was
said.
the data. The data was from like post analytics here. I mean, really, it was the anecdotal side of things from Dom. What he did notice was certainly there was more people coming to his dealership. You know, he is selling cars, but there's people actually turning up that never knew they existed because they'd seen him on Facebook. Now, the problem, one of the issues I'd say that we do have, is something that is not necessarily that easy to solve, is a matter of attribution. Although we provide tracking on the links that take the visitors to the dealership's website, and those tracking links and stuff can be used in the CRM, normally it's the last touch that gets given the sale. So, for example, we could be sending a whole bunch of traffic to a dealership's website, and then that could get them into like a sort of remarketing funnel. But then they're seeing that for so that car might be following them around the internet for the next week. And then they finally go back and clicking on an ad, and then Google gets the credit rather than us, even though we're the one that put them in the funnel in the first place. So it's difficult to attribute. Certainly, like Danny said, it's the amount of time saved. They're able to, the staff are able to actually do what they're meant to do. They're meant to be selling.
Here's 2 attributes that I could say if I was any other third party, and this is what anybody in the car business and I guess you could say a cars.com, a cars guru, anybody that's going to tell you, they would look at that top column there where it says they did 240 something posts. They only have 70 cars left. I attributed to all those sales. Now, I'm not going to do that because I can't, because I call that not to be factual. But realistically, we had something to do with probably most of those sales. Most third parties will take that information. So it's kind of a toss-up when you say, how do I totally attribute those sales to me? Yes, they're tracked. Yes, I could use that data. It's a very touchy situation to try and claim those sales. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's companies in the industry, and that is the problem they're trying to solve. They're trying to solve the customer flow so that dealerships can know where their customers coming from and what path have they used to get to that particular, to actually purchase a particular vehicle. And there's massive companies, and that is the one problem they're trying to solve. And there's only so much that can be done from our end in that respect. Did speak to the couple. We were at NADA back in February, and there was a couple of those companies that were exhibiting as well. So I went and had a few conversations there to see if there's a way, a better integration that we could do to help the attribution. And ultimately they said we're already doing what we can do with sending the tracking links and things to the website. But it's certainly part of the industry I'm keeping an eye on, because obviously it's important for us to be able to say, those particular sales came from our system.
What was interesting also out there was 670 plus vendors selling all kinds of tech. There wasn't one product that does what we do. That's what really kind of blew my mind. Not one. There isn't a company that does what we do. Most companies or most dealerships only post the, hey, thanks, Bob. Welcome to the family. I appreciate the sale, right? Nobody ever posts their inventory and brand on what they built. We spent so much money in Auto Trader ads, in Facebook ad, in building a brand for myself. But nobody ever actually sells on it. They go on Marketplace, or they go on a third-party site, or they do other types of things. But realistically, NADA school, or the National Auto Dealer Association, will tell you that you only get 1 to 3% of return on Auto Trader leads, Car Guru leads, or anything like that. But if you get a customer to go actually to a VDP, the car on your website, you've got an 8 to 20-something% chance of actually making a sale, because it's engagement. So all we're trying to do is drive that traffic to that brand and your website, because at least you got an opportunity then.
Okay, interesting. So on the operations side, when a dealership goes from doing this manually to running on your system, what does that actually look like internally? Have you seen pushback from people inside the dealership who feel threatened by this? Like, do they feel like their job is being taken away?
There's been a couple. Sort of I work with the onboarding side of things. So generally, we say it's the general manager, the owner, that's seen the demo and they've went, yep, we want to go for it, and then they've sort of passed it off to like their internet guy or
That's
their
true.
sort of digital sales manager, some person in that role who's never seen it, and they're like, okay, what's this new thing that you're getting me to do? So I mean, there has been sort of pushback from a couple of people, but generally, once they actually see what's involved, they actually realise, wait a minute, this is actually it's going to save me time. It's not going to take away their job, because what we're doing is we're posting the stuff that just takes time and needs that consistency. And if anything, we're freeing them up to focus on the more creative side of social media. They don't have to think about posting vehicles, because they can just focus on the fun community posts. And or like if they've got a big sale on, or whatever's happening, a special post for Easter or Thanksgiving, or these kind of posts. They don't have to think about the sort of monotony of posting about the actual inventory. So I mean, once it was explained to them, and I showed them, I just thought, well, I said, look, why don't you just come on? I'll do a quick demo with you, and then you can see what your manager's seen, and then we can take it from there. And once they've seen it, they generally came round. But obviously it's new. So yeah, there was a couple that were just like, what is this? And I'm not sure I want to do this. And can we maybe only start with like 1 or 2 posts a week until I kind of suss it out and make sure that you're not blasting up her Facebook page and ruining all my work and all that kind of thing. But yeah, it was just a matter of communication, and then it was fine.
Okay,
Amazing.
so what I'm hearing is it does take some time then for some of them to warm up to the idea. But I'm sure afterwards they get happy, right? Like you said, it frees up some time for them. Great.
On the demo, it didn't seem like there was too many issues, though. I mean, either they
not
get
in the
it
demo.
or they
Anyone
don't.
that's seen it
And
was
everybody's
fine.
like, because we haven't never really. How many people have you asked for a sale, Kirsty? 3 out of all the customers.
don't know.
Realistically, like we
I
get
don't
through
know.
it, and
I'm
it's
not
kind of like
sales. I just do the
But-
demo. Go.
you do. But when we're sitting there and we actually show the product to these guys, they're usually like, "Oh, well, can you just send me a contract?" Or it's never like, "Okay, so do you guys want to sign up?" It's literally.
Your product sells itself.
Yeah, we tell them
Yeah.
the story of my store. We show them what it does. And if they don't get it, it's like, okay, well, I totally understand that you don't get it. It might not be for you. But we've really never run into a massive pushback.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is, I'm very sort of focused on the values of the company, or of Auto Impact as a company, and it was like, yeah, no long-term contract, so it's 30 days, try it. If you don't like it, we're not going to hold you against your will. Dealer-driven development. So, it's very important for me, as a developer I want to know that what I'm developing is actually going to have some value for these dealerships. I mean, it's fine for me to get excited about AI and all lots of shiny bells and whistles. That's fun, but I don't want to spend a month developing something and then realizing it's absolutely of no use to anybody, because that would be
Right.
heartbreaking. So it's really important that we've got, the dealer-driven development, that we're actually asking for feedback and finding out what is important to our customers. And then the other thing is about, just transparent pricing. So it's a flat fee per month. We're not going, you're running out of posts this month or anything like that. We're just trying to keep it really simple, straightforward. We're solving one problem with one solution and with one customer base, one customer type. And I think, as we keep it simple, we can actually keep it effective as well. But in saying that, I mean, there's lots of ideas and things that I'm excited about for the future. And I'm sort of dipping my toe back into those videos and things about the new and exciting shiny object syndrome with AI, and going, well, what's out there now. I booked to go to, there's a Web Summit event in Lisbon in November, which has a whole section on AI and the sort of cutting edge technologies there. Which I'm super excited about as well. So it'll be really interesting to see, what's on the horizon, what's not being released yet, and see if anything in that sort of realm is relevant for us as well.
So you mentioned cost a little bit. Is it the same cost for each dealership per month, or does it vary? Like, what does that setup look like?
It goes based on the number of active vehicles they have in inventory. So
Okay.
the first tier is so any dealership that's got up to 100 vehicles in inventory is the entry level, and that's $299 a month. So flat rate,
Okay.
$299 a month. But then it goes up in sort of 100 vehicle, 150 vehicle stages, right through to, I think their top level one is $599 per month, I believe. And I think that's for anything over 500.
Yeah, I'd
There or
imagine,
thereabouts.
one
Yeah,
or
it
two
goes in tiers.
sales and it pays for itself very quickly.
Yeah.
Just,
Of course.
I mean, just the time saving
Yeah.
already. If you were to
Yeah.
sit, if you actually pay for a marketing company to do it, they're charging thousands per month. And if you're getting your own sales team or hiring in-house, that's going to cost you as well. So
Even more.
exactly. So it's kind of
Yeah.
a no-brainer.
Yeah. Interesting. So you already touched base on the type of AI that you're using, which is Anthropic. But what does integration look like with the dealership's inventory system?
That is literally, we get a CSV file, comma separated value file, like a spreadsheet, from their actual providers, their like website provider or data management system provider. So they send us that through an FTP connection each morning generally. So the majority of our connections work that way. There are a couple where we get given a URL where we then go and fetch an XML file each day. And we have also, actually the one that we've done to integrate with in South Africa was connecting up with AutoTrader in South Africa, and that was via an API. So, I mean, it
Okay.
varies depending on, who the provider is and what their systems are. But I mean, it's quite straightforward for us just to, for me as a developer, it's my bread and butter, what I've been doing for the last 26 years. So, it's easy. It's an easy thing to do is just to connect up another provider, So the system's been developed in a way that it can expand. We can keep pulling in new connections without it affecting sort of fundamentals of how it works. But yeah, so that's how that works.
What automation tool are you using right now with the workflow to handle? Is it Zapier, N89?
All custom coded.
No,
Custom.
custom coded.
Completely
Wow.
custom. So we work for a Laravel backend, so API, and that actually uses its own scheduling system. So all the schedules for all the, all of that all stored within the code base.
Okay.
And then we have we have the front end separate. The front end is our Next.js, sort of reactive front end.
What would you do differently if you started building this today? Like after everything that you've learned so far throughout this trial and error, if you will, what would you do differently?
Do you know, I did think about that before, and I'm not sure that I can think of anything. I think time-wise, I would have not went down the rabbit hole that I did when I started researching the AI side of things, because that did suck up a lot of time, because I was so scared to pick the wrong solution, and I was trying to pull in all this information, and I think we just got to the point it was information overload. I think we could probably have maybe launched a month and a half earlier if I'd just stopped right at the start and go, right, what do we actually need? And then just started just testing and just playing with it.
one last question on that. What is a tool that you're using that listeners probably have not heard of that you think that they would benefit from significantly?
Do you know what? Actually, in my sort of day-to-day, I mean, having using Anthropic for the backend, for the actual AI connections in this system, I have started using it in my sort of day-to-day work using their Claude web.
Yep.
Yep. And specifically their paid plan allows for creating projects.
Got
And
it. So
and
you're
that
a big fan of Claude.
Yeah, I found the projects part of Claude to be particularly useful. Because obviously you can then upload your files and memorize it and give it that context. And I think that goes back to as well, when I was testing the Anthropic API for generating, the text and the features and stuff for this system. One of the things I liked about it, and that's what got me onto Claude in the first place, I was like, oh, actually, I really like how the language is very natural. And I liked how the more information you gave it, the better its responses. The more context you give it to a problem or a situation, the more valuable the answers came back. And it did seem to pay attention to the information you gave it. So that's where the sort of project side of the Claude web interface for the paid plans I find personally very useful.
Interesting. And are you, I mean, obviously you have a big background in engineering and programming, but are you using Claude Code for any of your builds right now?
No. I mean, I'll get it to do, I don't use Claude Code. I'll maybe use the Claude web interface. I'll sometimes maybe just give it just to build me some like boilerplate stuff, which just sort of saves time. But there's not a single line of code in this that's been generated that hasn't been specifically looked at and read by me. So
That's amazing.
yeah, I've tried it. I've tried Claude Code. I'm not a big fan. But I don't know,
Okay.
maybe that's just me being old school.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm one of these people, so I mean, I've worked in teams of developers and stuff, but I don't like working with someone else's code
for
because
sure.
I don't know, I think it's just one of these things. Some programmers are like that. They just like working with their own code.
No,
So for me, that if
absolutely.
I got Claude to write the code for me, it'd be like working with some other developer's code. It'd be in a different sort of style. No, it gives me the ick.
Yeah, no, everybody has their own routine for sure. And depending on, I mean, I speak to AI developers all the time. Some love it, some hate it, some use it for inspiration as a starting
Yeah.
point. Some just, hey, like I'm going to do my own thing. And who knows where that ends up. But, I think it's interesting, right, to get everyone's perspective.
I mean, that's one good thing. I mean, I have done. I suppose your point in that is like it's good to have. It's almost like having a person, another engineer, to bounce ideas off of. Like you say, like
Yep.
so. If I'm thinking about how am I best to structure the architecture of the top level view architecture of software, and I'd maybe hit it with I've got this idea. I could maybe go down this route to develop something, or route A or route B, and give Claude that sort of challenge and go, give me all the pros and cons of each one. Maybe there's something I've not thought of to help me make decisions about like maybe the direction of the architecture of
Yeah.
software, that kind of thing is a very top level view. So in that case, it's almost like having just another engineer in the room, especially if you're a solo developer, there's another engineer in the room they could bounce an idea off of,
Amazing.
which is really good.
Very cool. Danny, I think I know the answer to this, but from the business side, was there any decisions on the tech stack that you had to push back on, or was this Kirsty's call the entire way?
On the tech stack, I would say it's
Yeah.
her call all the way. On some, I don't know, functionality type of things. Yeah, we had a lot to work together. Just because car dealers are quirky and weird and goofy type of things we're trying to accomplish, and everybody wants something different. So, what can we do that's fairly, I hate the word generic, but that more than just my store would be able to function on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then she again, she's done this for me for 17 years. Anytime I needed a rate of travel of this, can you figure this out? I was a wholesaler by trade when I started. Hey, can you figure out how we can scan a VIN and send it to my series of dealers and make it a speedy thing so I could be standing at the auction and these guys will buy the car before it runs through the sale? Just so she's always been just kind of Johnny on the spot. Hey, if you think it, I could build it.
Amazing.
So-
How do you guys meet, by the way?
Oh goodness.
Through another friend of ours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Named Ryan, who actually is a customer of ours now
Very
and
cool.
loves our build. So, yeah, he was doing some work with her. I guess he hired you.
Yeah,
to-
you hired me as a freelancer.
right? And then he started to work with me on another project that we worked on together for a little while, and we just couldn't get legs on the ground.
Yeah.
We didn't have enough backing and just the wherewithal to make it. And I didn't have 35 years experience at that point. And when this came about, we had a problem, and she could fix it. And it just like all the pieces fell in place. And then when we had it, we didn't, again, we were all kind of surprised that it was way better than what we thought we had. I don't want to speak for her, but it turned out to be way more exciting, way more functional. It did so much more to help not just my business, but everybody that we've given it to. It's been a godsend.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, just a
Definitely
last few set of questions to wrap things up. I want to leave listeners with something that they can use. Danny, starting with you, if a founder listening to this is thinking, hey, I have a similar problem in my industry, where do they start?
Man, well, where do they start? The first thing, you got to recognize you have a problem. And sometimes that's your hardest thing, because I didn't know I had the problem. I mean, I knew we had to get into social media. I knew that the game's changing. I knew that we had to do, look, the definitions of insanity, if I keep doing the same thing, I'm going to get the same result. So
That's right.
I have to change. But how do you come about with something that can change? And then being open enough to listen to other people that say they can help you do things. Because we've all been taken advantage of a million times, especially in an owner-operator type of situation with businesses, because everybody's got the next greatest thing since sliced bread that they're going to sell you. So, again, knowing Kirsty, I know what she could produce, and she said she could help me. I said, I'm all in. So I think part of it's trust. I think part of it's recognizing you have a problem, admitting you have that problem, and being willing enough to listen to other people to come up with a solution that you might not know what that might be.
Amazing.
Kirsty, on the building side, for someone who wants to actually put hands on the keyboard and start building something like this, what's one thing they could do this week to make progress?
Get a very small use case, like one very, very tiny problem or one very, very small section of like a this big idea for big automation, but just take a tiny part of it, spec it out and just start playing with it. Literally get your code up, start connecting to different APIs, see what works, what doesn't work, because you're not going to find those kind of answers in YouTube videos. You're going to find them by actually playing with the different the AI language models. You're going to actually get those answers by trying it. So trial and error is where you're going to get the answers.
For sure.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Sure.
And Danny, what's next for AutoLot Impact? What does V2 look like?
Well, we're working on growth. I'm hoping that we can, hit 100 dealers, then 500 dealers. But really, the growth model for us is we're going to scale into other industries. That's where I'm speaking on behalf of Kirsty. We've talked about this as a group, but realistically, this is just one small business that I happen to know because I've been doing it for 35 years, but nobody's doing this in any other industry that I see. And that's what's pretty wild. And I think there's an opportunity to help restaurants, to help jewelers, to help realtors, anybody that has any type of piece of inventory. We can bring it to the front, create organic traffic, create non-follower traffic, gain leads, and gain a awareness of what they're trying to build for themselves on their own business or whatever their platform they're trying to do. And if we can do that for a minimal spend, I think you can help a lot of people get in front of a lot of people. The advertising game's changed. I don't think commercials and newspaper and where do people look for things? At this point, they're scrolling on their phone.
Yep.
They're
Right.
watching a TikTok video. They're watching a YouTube. They're streaming something. So the way people shop, the way they get informed is changing. And if we don't change with it, you're not going to be irrelevant.
Absolutely. Well said.
Great. Where can people find you both, and where can people learn more about AutoLot Impact?
Kirsty?
Mainly from our website, autolotimpact.com. Let me just get it up for those people that have got video.
Currently, we're just advertising on social media and our website. We're in this growth mode. We do some conventions, automobile at this point, and as we scale, hopefully we'll start hitting other industries. You can find us there. You can find me at any of my social media channels, LinkedIn, Daniel Jacobs, or AutoLotImpact.com.
Amazing. Danny, Kirsty, thank you so much for coming on. This was exactly the kind of conversation we built this show for. Real builders, real systems, real impact.
Thank you for having us. It's been
Thank
a
you so
pleasure.
much for having us.
Thank you.
Super.
And for everyone listening, if you've built something with AI that actually works, we want to hear about it. Head over to 120octane.com to apply and be a guest.
Till next time, stay building.